Hi, everyone, and welcome to our March bfoUP webinar. We're really happy this evening to welcome Steve Eby of Eby Farms and Dan Darling of Darling Farms to talk to us more about Ontario's risk management program. Both of these gentlemen are very experienced members of the Ontario beef industry. Both Steve and Dan have served on the BFO Board of Directors. Dan currently is serving for us, and both have been very committed to other committees and just being involved in the beef industry. Dan has also been a past president of the Canadian Cattlemen's Association, so we're very lucky to be welcoming them here tonight to help explain this program that we have here in Ontario, and we're very happy that they took the time out this evening to join us. So we really appreciate them doing that for us. Just before we get started with the program for the evening, if you missed out on our last webinar, don't worry, we have this one posted along with any of our last webinars that you might be interested in on our website, so you can go take a look at them there. There's lots of great topics and really a great opportunity to go and just learn more from other past producers that we've had on here and industry members giving lots of great information that you might be interested in learning about there. So I really encourage you to go take a look. If you're interested in mentors yourself, I know that was the topic of our last webinar. We have some information there if you go and check out our website underneath our bfoUP link there. We have some information if you contact Dan or myself, Dan Ferguson or myself. We can potentially connect you with somebody in your area who might be able to provide you with advice, input, or feedback on ways that you could apply on your own operation or in getting started. There's also a neat program out on the World Wide Web called FarmLink. It's basically like a dating site, but it basically helps connect people who are looking for farm land with people who have that farmland but just aren't using it. So it's a really neat website to check out if you are interested in something like that, to basically help connect you with people who might be willing to work with you in that regard. So both of those types of information you can find on our website there. Just another neat thing that's come out lately and was announced at the Canadian Federation of Agricultural's AGM is Farm Credit Canada has started a starter loan program for individuals between 18 to 25 years of age. So this might be something that you could be interested in just to check out. You can check that out on their website. Just another little thing that could help you in the future as you're getting started. Always good to find those little tips to help you move along that direction. So just something to check out if you're interested. You can find this information and others on our website. You can sign up for our weekly e-newsletter, our magazine, and of course social media. I know that I say this at every webinar, but sometimes there's new people, so I just like to throw in our little plug here every time. And you can join us for our April webinar that is happening April 17th. We're having Mike Swiderski from Grey Dufferin Community Pastures to come and talk about those programs that we have here in Ontario. That might be interesting for those who are looking for a place just to expand and find ways that they might be able to use those for their own operations. So those are just a few little tidbits from me getting started for this webinar here. And with that, I'd like to put it over to Steve Eby to get us started talking about our topic for this webinar, the risk management program we have here in Ontario. So with that, I'm going to move it over to Steve here. And I'm going to change my presenter over to Steve so that he can accept that. Take me off webcam. And Steve, you should be good to go.
Does that look okay, Beth?
Yes, should be good.
Okay, very good, Beth. And I know Dan's going to follow up. Dan Darling's going to follow up comments as we move on tonight. I'm going to touch base more on the backgrounder and the feedlot component of the risk management program here in Ontario. And I have a number of slides here. By no means they're There's more detail that can be found around the program, but maybe some highlights that we can talk about. So as we move into, I guess we're talking about risk management and different types of it tonight, but concentrating more on the Ontario program. There's many different types of risk management, from nothing to futures to options, forward contracts, and then here in Ontario we've got the risk management, and I put insurance in brackets there because we do pay a premium into that, so it acts like an insurance program. With any type of risk management program, we got to know what things are costing us and what our break-evens are, so we can best address those concerns that we might have in our program or in our own businesses and operations. The Ontario RMP cattle program, I didn't put an application form on here, but it's a fairly easy to enroll as far as the paperwork is concerned. There's your regular business details. You do need an Ontario premise ID number, as well details around whether you're a cow-calf, backgrounder, or feedlot, or all of the above. You're eligible as long as you meet other criteria. You could be parts of all three of those sections within the program. And coverage details, sales projections, those types of things. Moving into what's eligible for cattle within the program, they must be sold during the program year, which the program year is the calendar year. The big thing is they're for Ontario cattle produced in Ontario, have to be owned by the producer for a minimum of 120 days consecutive. And those can be split between multiple categories. So what that means is they could be a backgrounder and move into the feedlot part of the program, but they have to be a minimum of 120 days. Under 30 months, it's not for breeding as far as the backgrounder and the feedlot categories are concerned. And if you're in the beef program, you can't be reporting sales under the veal program. We look at categories from within the program itself, the live weights and how they've got that split. The slide here is fairly self-explanatory. That cow-calf, I'll just concentrate maybe on the steers. The heifers are basically, they're 50 to 100 pounds back depending on the category, but that steer calf up to 150 pounds, or 550 pounds. The backgrounders over 550 to 900, and then the feedlot is over 900 up to 1500. We tend to ship some heavy cattle in Ontario, so we can enroll those heavy cattle. However, the coverage will only be up to the 1500 pound max for steers, or 1400 pounds for heifers, as far as the program is concerned. With programs, once we know what maybe what category we're in, there's different levels of coverage. Again, I mentioned it's an insurance type program, so premiums are attached. There's an 80%, 90%, and 100% coverage of all three categories. The note here would be the cow-calf is on a per head basis, and the backgrounder and feedlot components are on a per pound of gain basis. And we can see what those numbers are. They'll mean more here maybe in a minute. I've got an example to pull forward here to maybe do a bit of math. So let's just do a calculation of coverage. So we're going to purchase steers to be finished. 100 steers come in, 575 pound in weight. We're going to ship them at $15.50. So as far as the RMP feedlot program would be concerned, we're maxed out at 1,500 pounds. So that becomes the 15 minus the 9, which is the in weight on the feedlot. So we've got 600 pounds of feedlot gain times 100 head is 60,000 pounds. The backgrounder, they come in at 575. We take them up to 900. That's 325 pounds gain. 100 head, 32,500 pounds of backgrounder gain. We've got a second group of cattle in this example, 50 head that come in 925 pounds, and they're out at 1,500 pounds. So it's a backgrounder, or sorry, it's the feedlot RMP gain here, 15 minus 9 1/4, 575 pounds gain, 50 head, 28,750 pounds. So in this example here, we look at the total gain to enroll in the RMP program, 88,750 for the feedlot and 32,500 for the backgrounder. So we look at that numbers. The program is set up. If we call those the feedlot RMP at 88,750 and the backgrounder at that 32,500, that would be our 100% target number. The program has been set up that we've got basically a 25% tolerance up or down from that number. So it gives us a buffer based on maybe changes in numbers a little bit, changes in performance as we move throughout the year. If that number becomes outside that window, we want to notify, Agricor wants to be notified so they can update your coverage up or down depending on how that, what side of that tolerance you're on. Again, we've got to pick a coverage here, 80, 90, or 100%. And then that support level, as we move through the slides here, that support level becomes the target price times our chosen coverage level. So if we look at that premium cost on this particular example, 100% coverage level would be the feedlot 88,750 times the premium cost. We're 21,992, and our backgrounder, the 32,500 by the premium cost, we're $370. The total cost at 100% coverage in this example is $2,562.63, or $17.08 per head average over that group itself, or like over those two groups that we looked at. If we were to choose an 80% coverage level, without boring you with the math, we can drop right down. We change that premium cost to $222, or basically $1.50 a head. So my note there would be there's a big difference in the premium, but there's also a very big difference in the coverage. So that's where individual producers will want to decide on what level of coverage they need within their operation or want. So we've got cattle on feed. We've enrolled in the program. What do we have to look forward to for reporting details back to Agricor? Basically, it's set up on a quarterly basis on the backgrounder and the feedlot categories. So quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4 were basically the end of the month following the quarter. So April the 30th, July 31, October 31, and December 31. And I've got an example here with forms on how we fill that out, but those are kind of dates to keep in mind. And then also information that we need. Basically, if you're selling on the rail, if you've got your returns there, most of that information is there, as well as off your purchase receipts, so you know the incoming weight and the date that they were placed on feed. So we'll move here to a quarter. So this is actually a quarter report that is from my operation here. I've removed a bunch of details for privacy, but you can see that simple Agricor details, mailing address, etc., phone numbers. There is a couple boxes on that form, and the people at Agricor read these boxes, so don't be afraid to use them if you're enrolled in the program, because they supply some details that are useful in their calculations, or maybe understanding on why you filled out a form the way you have. There is on the enrollment form, jumping back to the beginning, the enrollment form will ask you, do you custom feed? Do you have joint ventures? Kind of a couple other general type questions. The joint ownership agreement, this particular, there's two groups of cattle in here that were split between two owners, and we just simply state the number of cattle that were in the group, the average purchase weight of that group, and then who shares what % of the ownership. And then we also state here who is reporting to RMP. So in this case, we say that each party is responsible to report to RMP under the joint ownership agreement. And again, there's two groups of cattle. The big thing that they will be able to see on this is more the average purchased weight as how it flags in the report below. And those additional comments, I put a note in here that the kill date is the actual sale date. That was clarification from Agricor that on a previous report. So that's page 1 of the report. You'll see this little green. So this is what is it? A fillable PDF that you can do online with Agricor. Once you fill that in, you click that little information OK, and if it's OK, it lets you move on to it goes green, and if not, it'll flag where it wants more information. So the second page is actually got the sales returns details on it here. So we look at the top here, we've got the sales report period. So which quarter is it? You check off which quarter. So this is quarter 3. I have 0 sales to report. So if you had no sales in a given quarter and you were enrolled in both the backgrounder and the feedlot components, you would just click off both of those. You'd go to the last page, electronically sign it, date it, and send it in, and you're done. In my case here, we have no backgrounder sales to report, so we click that off, and then all the information below here is feedlot sales with regards to the program. So enter the date, steers or heifers, live weight or rail sales. They're not. We don't have anything to do with breeding stock. The number of head that were sold, and the average sale weight. So this is the average dressed sales weight. Chances are it's calculated on your return that you would get back from the packer. If not, you would just take your total dressed weight divided by your head count, and that would give you the number. That's the way Agricor wants this reported. And then who you sold them to. So it's Packer XYZ. That's all you got to put. Were they raised from birth, and if so, how many were raised from birth? In this case, we purchased those 25 were purchased on the December the 1st of 2017, and the in weight was 700 pounds. So you just keep on going down through. Each of these represents a grade sheet, and the big thing here to walk across is how we denote. We've got our purchase date in here. It's obviously different for different groups of cattle, and then the purchase weight gets entered in. So that's the way I enter it. We see we move down here. We've got some 855 steers that come in, and we just plug the numbers in as per the grade sheet, and then the math gets done more internally as far as Agricor does the calculations. So this is the back of the end of the cattle lot information here. So in this particular quarter, we had 336 steers out. Again, this information OK button, if our number sold did not match our number purchased, it would flag it. It would also flag it if our sales date and our purchase date was under 120 days. It would ask you, it would flag that. So there's a couple of safeties built in there. And then this is the last page of the reporting form right here. And basically all we have to do is type in our name, the date that we submit it, we hit that submit online, and you'll get a confirmation number back from Agricor as far as a successful submission. Keep these on file. You never know when they'll be handy to have in case you're audited by Agricor. And this next slide here, just maybe a little different way to enter in your sales and your purchase information on that same form. So in this case here, we've got a sale date, their steers, rail grade, number of head. That was our average dressed weight. Went to that packer, but that particular group was purchased from two different times and two different weights. So we just entered them in separate. So that's also a way to do that. As we move through here, this is right off Agricor's website as far as information to keep on hand. I'll let you read through that at your own leisure, but it's just basically making sure that we've got the right information going in as far as the sales reporting is concerned. And again, this is just a little bit of a different slide, but weight, live, or carcass, certified scales. If they're not a certified scales, there's a procedure there, number of head, date of sale, who is the seller and the buyer, and the transaction value. These are things to have on file in case you're asked to verify some of your information. And again, more information to have an order. I have been through a number of, Agricor would tell you that they're not audits, but they're a form of double checking and a form of audit, mostly over the phone, but to submit information to them to verify a particular sales report. So some of that information that's needed is your purchase invoice, your sales invoice, and the big thing on farm, how do you track those cattle through your own system? If you can have it doesn't have to be complicated, but a system to track those cattle through, it makes some of your bookkeeping easier at the end, because we have to remember these cattle have been in your ownership for at least 120 days, and then they've been slaughtered. You send a sales report in, so your number of months after the fact. So you want to have a system in place that you can go to and get your information quickly to submit that data if need be. Custom feeding, I mentioned it was a tick box on the enrollment form. You have an agreement in place. What are the terms, head counts, those types of things. Simpler to have something on paper. It's not only good business, but it makes things much easier if you're needed to reference some of that. There's another box on the enrollment form if you feed cattle out of province. So out of province cattle obviously do not qualify. However, once they're moved to Ontario, that is when the clock starts ticking as far as the 120 days is concerned. So you need proof as to when you move them to Ontario and what that in weight would be. So if you bought calves in the West, backgrounded them, moved them down here at, say, 825 pounds on February the 1st, can you prove that? And it can be as simple as the closeout at the feedlot where you had made your, that was doing your custom feeding out there, trucking receipts, and they need to show what the date is and what the weight is, because those are starting points for the program. And again, if you've got joint ownership type cattle, that agreement between the parties, how is the enrollment in RMP handled, and what is the ownership split? Again, simple agreements, but good from a business point to have in place. So we've reported cattle, and so what might happen next. So there is a possibility, depending on how the market has behaved, that there could be calculations for a payment. So given the calendar year, the first and second quarter payments or summaries of calculations would be out in September. And then moving into December, we look at quarter three payments and then any adjustments that might be made from quarter one or two. And that is basically the same for the quarter four, which would be March. In March, so basically right now we would be anticipating a statement from Agricor with what quarter four of 2018 said, any quarter three adjustments from 2018, and then the final adjustments from quarter one and two. Sometimes there's interim payments that are made, and then it's kind of a catch-up depending on how the program funding looks. So that's why some of those adjustments kind of follow us through. The payment rate is based on the difference between the support level and the average price. The support level is based on the target price multiplied by your chosen coverage, and the production costs are calculated by OMAF. So there's formulas in place for the livestock purchase costs, the feed costs, and the yardage costs. I don't know what those formulas are, but that was agreed upon by a committee when the program was established, and I believe it is, Dan can correct me if I'm wrong when he comes on, but I believe a bunch of that is reviewed periodically as the program moves forward. The market prices for the calculation and collected by OMAF, as well as the OMAF rely on some of the market information that BFO collects to come up with some of their numbers. So I'm almost done here. It sounds like a great program. It is a good program. We have to be realistic with what the program can do. It is funded jointly by the producer premiums and the provincial government. So it's a 40% program. The federal government is not involved in this program at this particular point. There is a cap in place. So that cap, that funding envelope that is available is offered to beef, sheep, hogs, veal, grains, and oilseeds. So it gets spread out through the ag community. So sometimes those the available window and the available need are different numbers. We have to keep in mind that the calculations are made weekly. They're compiled after basically every quarter. And if there is a payment that is triggered, we could be months before we as producers know any payment details. So a good example is right now, we are March of 2019. We have no idea what quarter four of 2018 has done to us as far as, or I don't, there's nothing in my information as of earlier today. So that makes it a little tougher to maybe make business decisions on. However, it's one of those tools in the toolbox that we want to consider. So kind of just to wrap up here, it is a good program to consider, and I would encourage individual producers to review and understand the program themselves and see how it might fit in. Ask other people more details and see if it fits into your program, into your business program. And the best place to get that information is actually on the Agricor website. All the application forms are there. The manuals, a number of these slides were right off their web page. So don't be afraid to log in there and source some of that. and I'm sure there's individuals at the office of the Beef Farmers Ontario in Guelph that can direct you a little more specific if need be. So with that, I'll wrap it up, Beth, and turn it back over to you, and look forward to Dan's comments.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. That's great. Really appreciate you taking the time out and going through that with us. So I really think that probably helped out a lot of people with understanding it and getting your perspective on it from the feedlot side of things. So thanks again. I definitely appreciate that. So with that, I'll just move over to Dan here. Let's see if that worked. Dan, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, and I can hear you. So I'm just waiting on your screen to pop up for us. There we go. We got her. You're all set to go.
All right, so you can see me?
I can.
All right. Well, you can hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, there we go.
You're
Okay, well, it's a pleasure to be here with Can you hear and see me? Hello? You there, Beth?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're good.
Okay, good to go?
You're all set.
Okay. You guys tonight? As said, I'm Dan Darling from Darling Farms. Run 300 cow-calf operation here in Northumberland County, made up of crossbred cows and a small purebred limo herd that my wife Mary and my three daughters Carolyn, Julie, and Margaret look after. Steve did an extremely good job of describing the program. He got into from some of the slides that he showed, got into the cow-calf portion of it as well. So I appreciate that, Steve. But there's a few little things that are different between the feedlot and the cow-calf, and hopefully I can tweak on them without covering a lot of the stuff that he already has said. So obviously, it is a cost of production program for the cow-calf. It's cost of production up to 550 pounds for the steer and 500 pounds for the heifer. So he said you can get your enrollment material through AgriCorps. It's pretty easy to do. Maybe a little intimidating when you think about talking to AgriCorps, but whether it's by paper or by online, it's very easy to get into. One thing that you find out real fast, if you don't want to call from AgriCorps, then you make sure you sign everything wherever it's supposed to be signed, because if you don't, that'll trigger a call real fast. So yeah, so on the cow-calf, similar to the feedlot in the respect that you can get 100% coverage, 90% coverage, or 80% coverage. Steve showed you the difference for those.
Dan, sorry, just pause for a minute. You're kind of cutting in and out there.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah, you're a little bit better now.
Okay, so they haven't set the 2019 premiums yet. We're hoping that they will here fairly shortly. but as of today, there hasn't been set, and word is that they probably won't set it until after the Ontario budget comes down. But anyway, so the program works and is fairly easy, as I said, to get into. For us, as Steve has mentioned before, that it would work a lot better if it was a fully funded program like it was the first year. Unfortunately, it's not. So the dollars that you can if the claim is needed isn't quite as manageable as it should be. However, the differences between the two programs, feedlot and backgrounder and the cow-calf, is we only report our sales twice a year. So July 31st and January 31st is when we have to report our sales. Interesting enough, where the difference between the feedlot and the cow-calf, we do not have to have sold our calves by the time when we report. So all they really want to know, if you haven't sold your calves, all they really want to know is when those calves reached the 550 or the 500 pounds. That's the main issue for them. But because it's an average, really they're not looking at what on the cow-calf. Really, they're not looking at what you got for your animals. They just want to know that when they reach that 550 pounds or that 500 pounds if it was a heifer. But you report twice a year your sales. If you've had no sales as of January or July 31st, and you just put down that you've had no sales. If you had sales, you fill in the lines much the same as what Steve pointed out. They want to know when they were sold, how many was sold, the sex of the animals, and where they went to. I've heard a lot of purebred folks say there's no point in us getting onto this program because we sell purebred cattle. That's not necessarily true. I don't know too many purebred folks that sell their animals before 500 or 550 pounds. So you can take part in this program. And even though the dollars that you could get back are huge, every little bit counts. Yeah. So for us, we could take part in the backgrounder part as well, because we do keep our calves past that 550 pounds weight. But for us, we chose just to do the cow-calf part of it, simply because we feel the cow-calf part of the program is our biggest risk. After they reach that weight, we don't believe for our operation that the risk is great enough that we need to be enrolled in the backgrounder part. But that's just our opinion, and so that's what we've done. Yeah, I'm trying not to repeat some of the stuff that Steve said. Yeah, you have the choice on paying your installments, whether that be once a year or twice a year, and that's up to you. Yeah, I think I'm going to. Oh yeah, so if you do decide that you're going to keep replacements, you're allowed to do that. You just have to. There's a spot on the form where you fill in what the CCIA tag numbers is of those animals that you decide to keep as replacements. They still qualify. If there's a payment, you still get the payment for those animals, but you retain them, and that works the same whether it's a heifer or a bull. And yeah, we are allowed to have bulls up until that 550 pound. After that, they don't qualify for the other programs. So that's where it can also work for the purebred guys too. They don't have to be castrated up until that point. After that, they don't qualify for the programs. Like I said, for us, it's just a little tool that we use because it's an average. Um, when you do sell your calves, you could sell them for a lot more than what the average is, and you might think, oh well, I don't deserve a payment, but because of the average, you might get one anyway. And in many cases, you do. But that's that little tool that you've got in your toolbox to help you over the years that the prices aren't what they should be. The only another difference between the feedlot and the cow-calf is that the formula for your cost of production isn't quite as quick to react to changes on feed costs as it is on the feedlot. So, for an example, if hay is extremely expensive one year because of drought, you won't see much of a change in the cost of production because they do it over a 10-year average, and so it's a little bit slower to react. That was something that when this was being set up that we would have liked changed. However, dealing with government, sometimes it's difficult to get everything that you want. I think I might just leave it at that. I've probably forgotten something, but if somebody's got some questions, Steve did a very good job of explaining the how you get into the program, how the program works, and showing those forms. So I'll leave it at that, and if somebody's got some questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Bethany?
Okay, sounds good. Thanks a lot, Dan. That's very helpful with all of that information. I am just going to put myself back up on my webcam here. So if anybody has any questions to ask, now would be the time to throw them out here. I'll just take Dan's off the screen there. So yes, feel free to ask any questions now, and then just while we're waiting for anybody to type some questions up here, just to kind of go along with what Steve mentioned there about information on AgriCorps' website or contacting BFO. If you are interested, and I brought one with me home tonight just to show you guys, we do have participant handbooks in at the BFO office. If you are interested, we can send those out to you. They're also online on AgriCorps' website that you can find PDF copies there, because you know everything's easier just to get at home online, you know, when you're sitting at home at night. So you can find AgriCorps' a link to their website on the BFO website. You can go to our program link, and there's one there. Or you can also just Google AgriCorps, but it's all on there. And there's one specifically for livestock, cattle. You can find the information there. So you can find a lot more information to kind of go off of what you've learned here tonight there. But you can also call the office too, and we'd be happy to send you out a handbook there as well. So I've got my first question here for you guys. Let me pull it out. So I know who the questions are from, just FYI, so I'll let you guys know. This one's from Matt Bowman, just so you guys are aware. And he is asking, does your banker require enrollment? So Dan or Steve, do you want to answer Matt's question?
I can answer from my perspective. No, my banker does not require enrollment. However, they want to be aware of what risk management programs and what what my on-farm risk management program is, whether it's on my cropping program or my livestock program. So.
Dan, did you have anything that you wanted to add? Oh, you lost your sound. Let's see. I'm not sure why it did that. Dan? I don't know why we don't have your sound, Dan, but if you wanted to type in an answer. in the chat section, you can. Sorry about that. Sorry, Dan. Not sure why it's cut you off sound there. Sorry, everyone. Just typing in an answer to him. Does anybody have any other questions as we keep going here? It doesn't seem like we have any other questions that have come up, Steve and Dan. So since we've lost Dan's sound, I'd say at this point, we're probably good to go for the evening. So with that, I would like to thank both of them, and I'll thank Dan, even though he can't hear right now, for coming and speaking to us about the risk management program. And we hope you guys all have a good night, and we will hopefully see you at our April. Welcome to Dan's back on. Dan, I was just going to wrap up now because we don't have any other questions coming in. But I'd like to thank you guys all for coming out tonight, and we will hopefully have you guys out to our next webinar in April. So thanks so much for coming out, and sorry that you had to fall out there, Dan.
Not a problem. The audio's back now.
Yeah, don't know what happened there, but again, thanks for taking the time out this evening to join us, and we really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Beth and Dan.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Yeah, have a good night.
Bye, Steve.